What's up, everyone? It's Matt Mrozik, and this will be the next project on the bench. One thing you might notice if you follow my channel is that I've changed my workstation up a little bit. I took all my paints and everything from the back of my workbench and I moved them over here to the side simply because these pieces are getting bigger and bigger and I need more counter space. So I'm going to try this out for a while, see how I like it. The main difference is that if I want to color or whatever, I have to kind of maybe stand up to see what I'm getting, but I think this is going to work nicely. So I'll be able to spread out easier, have more workspace to work. So this is a 1/4 scale Gladiator kit. This was produced quite a while ago by Bushi Collector. This is sculpted by David Pereira. This is number 22 of 50. I don't know if they offered this as a pre-paint. It's been a while. I think it's only a kit option. Overall, it's a pretty good piece. There are some issues I've got to take care of before I start painting, and I'll kind of go over those here. Yeah, so here's the label. Again, produced quite a while ago. There's some really nice paint-ups of this I've seen, and my client sent me some photos of how he wants it to look. So we're going to do it up, and this should be a fun piece. There's a few little areas that I've got to work on to get things to work correctly. It's got a notorious issue about leaning because the cape is unnecessarily heavy and it goes to one side, and I've got some fitting issues. So here's the base. The first piece of the base is pretty simple. So we got like some rock down here. There's like a plinth down here, just a plain plinth. And then we got these kind of like columns coming out of here, which will get painted metallic. My client wants kind of like a cosmic rock. So we're gonna do like metallics, blacks and metallics on the rock, which would look kind of cool. And then he sent me some references where a painter had made it look like these were sliced off with the laser. So like these are hot, glowing hot, like they've just been sliced off. I don't know a lot about this character, as with many things I paint. I don't know a lot about the backstory and stuff, but I do enjoy just the painting, the artwork. The interesting thing about this piece is that it's pretty high quality, but again, these factories are using a relatively cheap type of resin. I can tell there's a filler in it. It's heavy, it's very heavy, but it's brittle. So you have to be careful with this. And the fit on some of the parts is not the greatest, so I gotta work on it. And you gotta put this together in a certain order also. So it's tricky. So I'm gonna start putting this together a little bit. Got this huge column right here that plugs in. This part fits very nicely right here. And this is the column that Gladiator actually pegs into. So that works really well. You don't need to do anything to this particular piece for it to work. It just slides right in, no problem. And it's not going to come out because of the way it's pegged. So you don't need to like add a pin or a magnet to anything. Gladiator is just going to put that in. His weight's going to keep it into place. These two pieces right here, we've got some like, I don't know what these characters are called. These are like robot guys that have been destroyed by Gladiator. But for instance, like these two pieces, they fit pretty good. But you can't like put one in and then put the other one in. Like I can't put this in. This goes here and then put this in. You gotta have to kind of, it's kind of weird the way these go. You gotta have to put them together a little bit, kind of like this, and then put them in at the same time. The way these kind of overlap. So it's a little tricky on some of these on how you have to put together. Which is not the biggest deal, but when you're trying to put together and not scuff paint. Another thing I'm not a fan of is the way they have it. The packaging is actually pretty good, and nothing came damaged, but I wish they made it so where you could glue Gladiator together, his legs and his upper torso, and then repack them. You can't do that the way they have this packed. I think it's a big miss on this one, particularly because of the cape issue. Because ideally what I would like to do is glue and pin Gladiator in one piece, make them really solid, and that way there's no chance of him being pulled apart because of the weight of the cape. Okay, so we got those two pieces in. Now the parts that are, oh, and then we got this next big column piece, and this takes a little, this took me a little while to figure out how it goes in. I just look at photos. But this comes in, and kind of comes in like this. It's a tricky fit. Again, doing this without scuffing paint is gonna be really, really hard. Does fit. Okay, so it comes in like this. It slides in like this. Okay, there we go. Okay, so that kind of slides in and keys in there. These heads, actually I'm gonna take that out. These heads are kind of where some of the issues are. the way they fit. This guy comes down here. That one fits pretty good initially, until I try to put this head in. There's some interference. Actually, no, it's not that one, it's the next one, sorry. Those two actually fit pretty good. Again, this is a brittle resin, so you really can't force anything. Actually, this one's got to go in first, then this one, because this one kind of rests on top, like that. And then this one comes in back here. Someone made a comment on my last video that I only saw where my arms, but unfortunately, I've got to use my hands. I've got to use my hands to put things together. So, yeah, sometimes my hands are going to be in the way. It's just it is what it is. I don't have, you know, mind power so I can levitate things and put them together without using my hands. That'd be kind of a cool trick. So this guy comes in like this. Again, my hands are in the way, sorry. But his chin hits this head. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to actually shave his chin down a little bit to allow these pieces to fit just a little bit better. Again, this is just because if I don't shave his head, this head doesn't fit quite as well, and this doesn't want to sit down. You can see there's a pretty good gap down there. So if I shave his chin a little bit, that'll sit down better, and this head will fit better too. I don't want to make things too tight because, again, if they're too tight, then taking it apart and putting it back together, you'll chip things. Let's see what else. Oh, and then we can put this guy back in. This big piece. Again, this is kind of a tricky piece to get in. Okay, so that works the best. I find so I again, try to get my hands out of the way so I don't get comments about using my hands. Okay, so if you take this piece and you come in like this and slide it in here first, like this, and then bring it down, I think I'll have less chance of scuffing paint. You're gonna scuff a little paint, there's nothing you can do about it. Okay, just like that. Okay, now this last head doesn't go down at all right now. So this head has to go in after this. So right now if I put this in, that's as far down as it goes. It's gotta fit all the way down. So what we're gonna have to do is I'm gonna shave this part so this head will go down. So like when this client asked me how much it would cost, I gave him a quote between 50 and 60 hours because I know this kit and I know it's got some issues. So that's how I'm giving quotes now. I'm not gonna, it's gonna cost this much to do it because I don't know. Until I get the kit, I don't know how long it's gonna take me. And I've burned myself several times giving a quote and then getting the piece and realizing it's gonna be a lot more work than I initially anticipated. So I gave him a range. Obviously I try to keep it on the lower side just because I'm not out there to take it, you know, make it cost as much as I can get. I want to make sure that we're both treated fairly. So I'm going to try to get that head in. So I try to put that in. This is going to break. So I'm going to put the base to the side for a second, and we're going to look at Gladiator himself. So we got his legs. It comes with two heads. Two heads, guys. That's the most you need. You don't need 5 or 6 heads. There's a really cool Reeve Superman being produced right now, and it comes with 5 heads. I personally don't get it. Why you need that many heads for a single statue? But, you know, whatever. Collectors like to play with their statues and switch the heads out. So the first issue I got to deal with is that this does not key in all the way. It wobbles. Let me turn on exposure. So I got to deal with that. So instead of what I'm going to do, and this is where I would like to really be able to pin and glue this together and make this one solid piece. I may propose that to my client and just, right now he comes in 2 boxes. If I do this, I will not be able to put them back in the original packaging because of the way it's packed. It's just the way it's foam cut. So I may propose doing, I'm going to ask him, I mean, it'd be more expensive to do 3 boxes. My other option is to do a really big pin in there and going up here again, but once you see the cape, it's going to want to really pull it to his left. because the cape swoops down, and the cape is way too heavy. It shouldn't have made, whatever material it's made out of. It's the same material that they use for the Bushi Thor cape. It's really heavy. It's unnecessarily heavy. But this doesn't go down all the way, so I have to rekey the way. So I'm going to hollow this out. Just get in there with a grinder, grind it out, stick it with some Aves, and then put it down and rekey that and let that sit, you know, so it's keyed correctly. So right now it doesn't go down all the way. So I have to deal with that. But the way this goes in, well, I'll show you the next issue. So there's like two main issues. You got a few little things on the base I got to work fitting wise, which aren't that big of a deal. The next one is the cape. And right now, I think the cape's the heaviest part of the piece. I don't know what this is made out of. It feels like, it sounds like vinyl, but it's really heavy, unnecessarily heavy. So I'm gonna back the camera up here. So you can see it swoops and comes back around, but it's really heavy. It wants to pull. Like if I just hold this with my hands, you can see that it wants to swing to his right, which means it's going to pull up on his right side. And right now, this doesn't even key into the shoulders. I don't know if I can heat this up. It's really thick, but the keys don't line up to go down. I'm not going to force it because I don't want to break the key. So I'm going to try to heat this cape up, see if it'll soften up a little bit and get the keys to go down. There's a few videos out there. Raphael did a video on how he fixed this and made it stay, so I'm going to look at his video. John already did one of these like a year ago, and he's got what he did to make the cape stay, so I'm going to pick his brain a little bit too. But the first thing I got to do is get the keys to go down. So I don't want to compromise the keys that are there because they need to be able to support this cape. So if I try to pick this up, it wants to pull out and pull up on this side. So that's the main issue with this piece. And surprisingly, so I've got another one of these in my possession. Surprisingly, when you have him on the base like this, back up, it's a big piece. And then you put the torso on, which right now doesn't fit all the way. Put this on. It's a tall piece. When you put that on, you still can't see it. This part right here is engineered really well, so it's not going to come out of this base right here. And then we got his weapon here. I don't know what you call this. That pegs in there. And this, it pegs on top of the hole. There's a hole on top of this head that it pegs into. And it's a little warped, so I'm going to try to heat that up and straighten it out. Right now it's got a slight curve to it, so some hot water. Try to straighten it up a little bit. I'm not sure if I'll be able to get much straighter, but try to fix that. And then, so I've got to deal with some engineering and fitting. So let's look at the heads. So we got two portraits. Here's the first one. He looks pissed off, but nicely sculpted. And they fit perfectly into the neck. No problems there. Here's the second head. Just more stoic, not so mad looking. And they fit really good. It's a nice sculpt. And then he's got this piece that goes across his chest. With the capes in. Just a little ornate piece. So yeah, I'm just gonna make this the intro video. And then I'll do work in progress one today where I try to work on some of these fitting issues. But I can get you a measurement without the cape because I can't. I'm afraid to put it on. I'm afraid it'll fall apart because the cape doesn't key in all the way. I can kind of get, see it wants to pull out here big time. That's why I really want to glue him together. So I'm going to talk to my client about that. I'm going to send this video and see what he says. About gluing this together, and maybe I may have to ship this in another box. It won't go back in. I don't think I can get it to go in the original packaging. I can try, but I think the smart thing to do is to stick a metal rod in here, epoxy him together, and then that'll take care. That will definitely ensure that there's no leaning at the waist. So I need to talk to him about that. I think that's the smartest thing to do. And the next thing to do is to make sure that the cape doesn't want to pull out. But I can kind of get a measurement for you here, a rough estimate. Like his head doesn't go in all the way, but sorry, I'm in front of the camera. So a rough estimate is, it's going to be a little shorter than what I tell you because again, I can't get them all together. Right now, with the way it is 33 inches. I'd say he's 32 inches. No, right now he's saying right at 32 inches. So it's probably about 31 inches tall. It's almost 3 feet. And then width-wise, again, I have to guess here because I can't really hold them together. You're about 20 inches, and then your depth isn't too bad. Your depth is about, let's say 16 inches. So you're at about 31, 32 tall, about 20 wide, and about 13 to 15 inches deep. So the big thing is the height. So depending on where you want to display a piece like this, the height is what you got to deal with as far as your space goes. So yeah, so it's a cool piece. Just some issues you got to deal with, and that's just doing a kit. You know, a lot of these kits are not ready to paint from the factory. This is one of them. So that's the intro video to this piece. Then today I'll work on getting this stuff to fit on the base. I want to send this video to my client, see what he says about gluing him together, and the shipping option for that, because that could cost more to ship it. But I think if it was my piece, I would glue this together, definitely. Because even if I put like really strong magnets, the way it torques, it's not just the weight, but it's the way it pulls on it. It's the torque on the side really wants to pull it that way. So I think the smart thing to do is to glue it, pin it and glue it with epoxy. And I would probably do that before I do any painting, create a little bit more masking, but I think at this stage that's the first thing I would do, that epoxy that. But there you go. So that's the intro video to this Portugal Gladiator. Paint should be fun on it. We're gonna do some cool things to it. We're gonna like beat up these guys down here in weather and make them look like they're scorched and stuff. But the first video is to get some things to fit better. So stay tuned for those. And as always, this is Matt Morosic. Thanks for watching. Catch you guys next time. Bye.